Welcome to Amy's Debrief. Amy is a young Australian who is currently working in London whilst she travels and explores Europe. She was interested in doing a talent dynamics profile feedback session as she is contemplating her future career. In her session, notice how she is embarrassed about her profile. She describes herself as an organisation geek. This is a good opportunity to talk about value and trust and to support her to be proud of her love of organising. The focus of this session was to support Amy to focus on her long-term career options when she returns to Australia. Before the session, she has an idea she would like a future in logistics but isn't so sure or confident about her choice. As you watch the session, notice how her Lord profile shows up. She goes quiet and uses her introverted thinking style. Observe how the facilitator works with her energy to bring more understanding to her goals.
So thank you, Amy, for agreeing to have your profile done and to let us film it for the project we're doing. So did you get a chance to read your profile?
I did. Really excited.
Did it? What were you excited about?
I think just trying to learn more about, trying to understand what I actually am like, what I want to do. That's what I'm really trying to figure out at the moment. Where do I want to go? What do I want to do?
And so this is a sort of quite a timely thing for you?
Yeah, definitely.
That's really cool. So I'm just going to explain to you first of all what we're going to do, and then we'll crack on and do it. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through today about talent dynamics so that you understand what it is and where it came from, and also that you understand how the frequencies work and what that means and what your profile is. And through the whole of that is going to be running your goal about what you want to do and what you want to achieve. So if you have some goals that you want to achieve in the next say 45 minutes, what is it you'd like to get out of it?
Just trying to figure out with my career kind of where I want to go with it, what sort of role I want to be in.
To give you a bit of information about the history of talent dynamics, is based on 5,000 years of research, and it's based on something called the I Ching. And in about the 1900s, Carl Jung did a lot of work on the I Ching, and lots of different approaches have been based on his work. But the person who developed talent dynamics went back to the original I Ching, did some research and evaluation, and realised that some of what was in the I Ching was taken out, it's an important part of it, and it's been put back in. So although it's got a modern twist and it's a business development pathway, it actually is based on a lot of history and a lot of research. So one of the things we're going to do is talk about some of the core principles of talent dynamics, and one of the core principles is actually flow, something called flow. And so flow is described as when you're doing something that you just really love and time stands still, and you look at the clock and you think, oh, where did all that time go? And you've just really been enjoying what you do. So what are you doing when you're really in flow?
It's normally, if I think of sort of previous stuff that I really enjoyed, being quite hands-on and sort of having a project that I can really sink my teeth into. Yeah, I love when I've got a project and it's sort of, it's yours and you're trying to get the end result.
So it's about knowing what you expect to achieve.
Yeah.
It's a project, you can get hold of it and own it, and you know when you've got to deliver.
Yeah.
Okay, and for those projects that you've worked on that you've really been in flow and enjoyed, what kind of things what were the projects about? What kind of things were they about?
So for example, here at the moment with our mailing service, I sort of have taken that as my baby and made new contracts, and now I'm sort of making sure I get it all organised, because I like to organise, get everything organised and sort of put it all in order to make sure that the mailing service now runs smoothly and is all in process, has a good process and that sort of thing.
Oh, right, okay. And you really enjoy that? You can see your face lighting up, you're going, oh, I really love this. This is really exciting.
I hate it, but I don't have much. I like organising.
So there's a bit of you's a bit shy about admitting how much you like organising things.
I'm like a big nerd.
Okay. That's one way of looking at it. And what are you using to support you to get organised?
I guess I like to write lists and put sort of a structure in place so I've got something to follow.
Right, okay.
I'm a big list person, so yeah, I guess I write lists.
You write lists?
Follow the lists kind of thing.
And it sounds like in order to arrange a mailing list, there must be some kind of technology involved?
Got it all going on in Excel and stuff, got a spreadsheet and everything, and follow it all.
Right. So in terms of working with spreadsheets, how do you feel when you're working with spreadsheets?
I think it's good because I have it all in front of me laid out and sort of can follow it and keep track of, say for example, whose contract I've got, who's paid, who needs to do this and that.
Yeah, so it's all in front of you. So
I like it visual.
Yeah, oh, so you like it to be visual in front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you just look quite happy when you were talking about all of that. So when you think about your job now at the moment, and you think about flow, and we're going to give you your job in your role and how you feel about it at the moment, a flow score, where 0 was I'm not in flow and 10 is yeah, absolutely am. Where would you say you are at the moment?
Kind of sort of mid. Like I think I'm not as challenged and hands-on as I'd like to be.
Not as challenged, did you say? Right, okay. Yeah. So tell me about the challenge and hands-on. What would that need to look like? So to get you to an 8, what would need to be happening in terms to get you up to an 8?
I think just sort of being, I like sort of being busy and my mind being challenged and being hands-on. Sort of to have lots going on, but it's still in control, I think.
So you like to be in control, but when you go hands-on, you can see something I can't see. So what do you mean when you say hands-on? What are your hands doing? For example,
I think when I'm in my element, say with previous roles working in logistics, so I'm picking, I'm packing, I'm invoicing, I'm doing orders. So I'm sort of, I'm doing lots and stuff.
So there's something there about logistics. Did you say audits?
All orders. So
orders,
the orders, invoicing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sort of, you've got an order that needs 100, previously 100 watches or 10 watches, and you've got to get them all accurate, and you're working fast paced.
So you like to work fast paced?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty challenged.
Yeah. So you can start to see, between the role you've had and where you are now, you can see some of the differences about being in flow and the things that you're starting to differentiate between when you're in flow, when you're enjoying, and what you need. Yeah. So you can start to think, even from understanding flow, you can start to think about what kind of role do I need, what kind of things do I need to be doing.
Yeah.
So when you're at 5 in flow, how do you feel?
I wouldn't at all say I'm unhappy.
No.
Like I'm happy, but I'm not like buzzing.
Yeah.
You spend so much time at work. I want to be like, I like my job, which a lot of people can't say. Let's be honest. But I want to feel like that. To be like, I do enjoy my job.
A 5 out of 10, you're saying, you're not unhappy, but you're not buzzing. So tell me what it's like when it's 8 or 9 out of 10. What's that like?
It's just sort of, you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh no, but I've still got to do this, and I still, because you're stuck into your projects, you want to carry on. Or like on a Sunday night, you're still never like, I can't wait to go to work, but you're like, everyone's like, oh, work tomorrow, and you're like, I don't mind, and it's quite a nice feeling to be like, I spend 40 hours a week doing something I actually don't mind doing.
Yeah, that's great.
Which is nice.
So when you're describing the 8 out of 10, what you're describing there is when you're following what's called the path of least resistance. It's because you're following what you naturally enjoy, what you resonate with, and what you really enjoy, and what just comes simply to you. You don't have to think about it. Yeah. And so that's what flow is, and that's how flow feels. And it sounds like, from what you're saying about where do I want to go from here, what do I want to do as a role in the future. Yeah. It's a really great opportunity for you to really notice. Yeah. What the difference between being in flow and out of flow is, and then to be able to structure what happens going forward around that path of least resistance. It's a great time in your life to do that, isn't it? Very exciting. I'm as excited as you are. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to look at the 5 energy frequencies, and then we can start to look at, well, where do you sit on the frequencies and what that means for your future and where you go from here. First of all, I just want to just make a point about how we resonate with things. So I just want you to think about a piece of music or a song that at the moment you just really love and think, oh yeah, that's great. So what would you listen to and really enjoy?
I don't know, something a bit like pumpy, bouncy, or like a feel good song.
Yeah. So and you smile when you think about that, and you're thinking, it's good. Yeah. And then just want you to think about some kind of music that you really don't like.
Heavy metal.
Heavy metal, right. So if we made you walk to work every morning listening to heavy metal, how would you feel?
Get to work angry.
We don't want that. So we ain't going to do that. No. But that's about, what I'm trying to just to give you an analogy there, is about that resonating with something. And with energy, it's like we resonate with certain energies, and that means, you know, we can get into flow with that energy, and that's when we're enjoying ourselves and we're really doing our best. So when we look at the energies, you know, that's what we're looking for, is where do you resonate the best. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you had your report came back.
Yeah.
And so this was the second page on that report. So we're just going to go around and look at what the energies are and look what you scored and what that means for you. So the first energy that the model talks about is called dynamo. And the dynamo energy is the energy that's all about being strategic. It relates to spring, because spring is all about when new things are happening. There's rapid growth. It's, you know, it's all new, and people with dynamo energy are really good with a blank piece of paper. It's like, wow, we've got this issue. Oh, what could we do? We could do this. We could do that. So really, they're really good at creating. And it's the equivalent of being in a helicopter over London, that you can see where London's positioned, but it's not about the detail, it's about the, you know, being able to see where things lie. And dynamo energy people are described as having their head in the clouds, because they, you know, they're sat up in the cloud, and they, you know, they can see into the distance, and they're creating the new ways of doing things. Now, dynamo isn't people, you know, energy, they're not so good at getting things finished. But they're great at getting things going.
Yeah.
And so that's the first energy, so very creative. The second energy is called blaze, and the blaze energy is the people who are really focused on people. So blaze is related to summer, it's all about warmth. Blaze people are really interested in people. They work well with people. They're really focused on people's potential. So if the dynamo people are creating an idea, the blaze people are looking at, right, I've got this group of people, how do I get them to do that thing?
Right.
So they're all about being effective, and, you know, they work very well on one-to-one, and they will be having challenging conversations, but really, you know, looking at potential and how do I get people motivated, and they're the cheerleaders of, you know, motivation.
Yeah.
Energy that's at the bottom of the square is called tempo, and the tempo energy is all about timing and what's the right time for things. It's very much focused on time. And the people who have tempo energy, they're described as having their ear to the ground. So they're very in touch with people. They like the team to be together and happy. So they're really focused on people and what people need. But they also have the detail about who's doing what, who's got a busy schedule, who hasn't. So very much about, you know, what are the resources, what's available, and very focused on timing. And the fourth energy is called steel. And the steel energy is all about systems and data. So the people who have a lot of steel energy can deal with a massive information. They love working with spreadsheets. They understand how systems work. They're less interested in people, but they're really interested in the data and the facts, and, you know, managing through systems and data. So when you look at those four different energies, I did say there was 5, and the 5th one is called spirit. And spirit is like a pyramid that sits above the other 4 energies, and that's all about the why. You know, why are we here? What is it? You know, why are we here to? What are we here to do? So the spirit is the one that ties them all together, and that's the one that's about continuous improvement.
Right.
So, but when you look at the 4 energies here, each of those energies have strengths, and they have some challenges as well. So the dynamo energy is really creative and good at getting things going. But once they've created, the dynamo people have created something, they're then sort of like, oh great, you know, I've done that, I want to move on to the next thing. So they're not necessarily focused on implementation. But the tempo people are the people who are really interested in what's the timing of things, how can that happen, what have we got in place to make that happen. So when those different energies can really understand each other, they can start to really use each other's potential and work together to create something, because these people can hand stuff over to the tempo people. And, you know, the challenge for the tempo people is sometimes that they get lost in the detail and the timing of things and can't see the connection to the bigger picture. So the dynamo people can help the tempo people to say, look, you know, this is the bigger picture that we're contributing to, and how do we stay focused on, you know, making sure that it fits in with that bigger picture. Likewise, the blaze people really love engaging people, but they're not so focused on the figures and the data. And so they could use the data people to actually really, help them to be aware of the figures. And likewise, the steel people are less interested in dealing with the people, so they can really use the blaze people to help them and support them dealing with people. So where you came out in terms of your profile, you scored 28% on steel, 28% on tempo. So that means that you've got, one of your high score is on the steel energy. So that suggests that you really enjoy working with spreadsheets, data, and you've described it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Bit shy about it, but you've described, being really good and enjoying organising things, and looking at multifaceted and keeping it together and being really effective, and that is the value that the steel people offer in terms of what they can do. And have you ever noticed that you can do that really well, and some other people might struggle with doing it the way as effectively as you do?
So not as organised.
Yeah. So in terms of in an organisation, where you can really bring your value is through, your ability with, that steel energy.
Yeah.
And the focus on systems and data and managing and being effective in terms of that. And you got 28% on the tempo energy, and that's an energy that's focused on the timing of things. So are you aware that you can keep a track of time and how things?
Yeah, I think I do that.
And you've come out as a Lord in this profile, so it sounds like the systems and being able to really work effectively in the systems is the thing that you do more than keeping the track of the time.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Does that feel right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of your profile being a Lord, that's a very much the steel energy, systems and data. And if you think about a plane, the Lord is the body of the plane. That's what you do strongest and most effectively. But you have two wings that help you balance. And the two wing profiles that you have are called accumulator and mechanic. Now the accumulator in the square is the person that is the most risk averse in terms of the whole model. So the accumulator is really focused on time and the systems and the data. So they really understand what the figures say, and they understand the timing. So often the accumulator is the person who can sit there and go, hang on a minute, we might have an issue there, we might have missed something, or we might have a bit of a problem there. Do you notice that you do that? You have the ability to do that?
I think so, yeah. I'm still trying to think of me in situations. Yeah, I think I can sit back a bit and be like, hang on.
And what's interesting about when I ask you a question is you go, hang on a minute, I need to think about that.
Yeah.
And that is a classic, that's the classic reaction from the Lord and steel side of the model. And the reason for that is that this side of the square are always introverted. So that would suggest that as a personality type you're more introverted than extroverted.
I don't know if my understanding of introvert extrovert, maybe I understand it wrong.
So do you want me to explain what that means?
Maybe, yeah.
So with the introvert, it's about your thinking and action style. So an introvert in a thinking and action style is about you taking information in, and so you're listening and taking information in, and then you reflect on it, and then you go, here's the answer.
Right.
So you make the decision internally, and you reference internally. Right. Whereas the extroverted style will go, well, what do you think, and what do you think, and what do you think, and are much more collaborative in how they come to decisions.
Right. I think in that case I would see myself, I have sort of understood it as more an introvert as someone that's quiet and keeps to themselves, and an extrovert as someone that sort of is more talkative and that sort of thing. Yeah. So I guess it's a similar thing but different when it comes to the thinking, isn't it? Yeah. When it comes to thinking I'm more like, okay, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that feels right in that sense.
Yeah. In that sense, yeah.
And so and it's interesting that when I talk to you, you're going, oh, hang on, let me think about it.
I do that often.
Think it through.
Jane thinks I'm not listening because I go like this. I'm like, I'm listening, just keep talking.
Yeah. And that's because you're using that introvert thinking style.
Yeah.
And often when you with the Lord and the accumulator side of the square, those people need that time to think, and it's because they're going through all the different information they have to be able to go, hang on a minute, what's the right answer?
Yeah.
And like you say, it's not that you're not listening, it's the fact that you're
I'm just sort of putting it down on paper in my head.
and thinking it through. So does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Now, in terms of being introverted, because this here, the Lord and the supporter are on a there's a continuum that way that's about introversion and extroversion, and up and down it goes intuitive and sensory. So the dynamo people are always intuitive, so they're making decisions, and you say, well, how do you know that? Well, I just do. It's a really intuitive knowledge.
Yeah.
Whereas these people down here are using the very sensory knowledge, and sensory knowledge is how you take in information through your senses. So it's about what you can hear, what you can see, what you can touch, what's around you. But this set suggests that as a Lord you can do intuitive or sensory. So the accumulator over here is the one that is risk averse, noticing where gaps are. Hang on, we haven't got all this lined up for this to actually to be right.
Yeah.
Up here, what it suggests that if your profile's right and you're a Lord, that you have what's called a mechanic wing. And what mechanics do is that they have some dynamo energy, and but they also have this steel energy, and they fix systems and processes, data and systems that have broken, basically. So if you think of a car going to a garage and it's something's happened to it, and you're like, mechanic says, oh, what's wrong with it? Well, I don't know, it's juddering when I drive. The mechanics of the person will go, well, I know how cars work, so I know, I've got a rough idea what that problem might be, and then they go and take it apart and fix it and put it back together, because they know how systems and data work, and they know how to put it right and fix it. So it would suggest that you have that wing on the other side as well. So do you resonate with that as something that you can do?
So is it sort of the same as, say, you sort of see a gap and you find a process to fix that? Is it the same sort of thing?
Well, it's like being able to see that this something's in the process or the data is broken, and then you can go, hang on a minute, we need to fix that. This is how we could do it.
Yeah, I would see myself doing that.
You can do that, can you? Okay, so that's given you a sense of the different energies and what the different energies do, and you've got your main profile. Does it feel that Lord profile is the right profile from you, from what you read?
From what I read, mostly yes, some things no.
So go on, tell me what didn't.
Let me try to think. I guess because the Lord they're not really a people person, are they?
Right, okay.
Whereas I see myself as quite a people person, but there are definitely aspects, like it talks about how the Lord hates small talk. I hate small talk. I like building relationships. So here we build a relationship with our clients, whereas I'm not good with small talk. So I do see that side of it. Or say people person, if I was working with a client and working towards something, I would like that. Whereas sales, things like that, I'm not interested. I'm not good at sales. So I do see myself as a people person. But then there's so many aspects as well where I'm not a people person in that way.
Okay. So if we look at your other scores that you got, in terms of the other scores you got 24% on Dynamo and you got 20% on Blaze. And what that means, and you've got here, remember, you've got 28% on the Tempo. So if we look at these two, you've got a lot of the Tempo energy.
Yeah.
And what that means is that you like people and you want people to be happy,
Yeah.
And so for you, you'll be focused on people being together and happy.
Yeah.
That's part of the energy that you've got, and it contributes towards what you do.
Yeah.
Now, the main thing that you're going to be trusted for is systems and processes, well, systems and data.
Yeah.
So that's what people are going to trust you for most, and that is where you're really going to add your value.
Yeah.
But you do care about people. It's you've got a lot of that tempo energy, but you've also got 20% of your blaze energy, which is the people over the energy over here.
Yeah.
So you've got contributing people factors in there.
Yeah.
But what it means is that we wouldn't put you in a role if we were looking at flow where you were in a blaze role, where you were a cheerleader of standing up in front of people, or
no way.
We don't want to go doing that.
No.
And it's saying that in terms of the tempo, although you've got some of that tempo energy, really looking at timelines and timing of things isn't where you're going to add your most value.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means that it's not the thing that you're going to be most trusted for. And some lords where you've got your 28% of your steel. Now, some people who are higher on their steel score might be feel more cold, because if you think about the seasons, this one's about spring, it's about newness. This one's about summer, it's about warmth. This one's about autumn, it's about slowing things down and gathering together. And steel's about winter, and it's cold. Now, if you had a higher score on your steel, you might feel a bit more of that cold, introverted, reserved. But you've got a lower score on your steel, but and the tempo and the blaze to give some of that warmth. And obviously, I know you from coming here, and I see that part of you that's very caring and focused on people. But this is where you're going to add your most value. So in terms of when you're looking at using this for your original goals, which is what role am I going to do, where do I want to go, and how you actually work, I want you to just have a think about. There's some points to think about. It's about how do you add your most value, and what this is telling us, that you add that value through that steel energy, and all the things you've just been shy about explaining that you do. So part of my question is, if this is where you're going to add value, how do you get less shy about shouting about it?
Stop viewing it as being so dorky, so nitty. Yeah.
I mean, I've been in a workshop recently where there's lots of the blaze and the dynamo entrepreneurial people, and so in the dialogue with them, there were so much discussion about what I really need to be effective is I need to work with someone who's got steel energy.
Right.
It's so valuable.
Yeah.
Because if you remember how what the principle of this is about, how you add value, how you create trust, so you're going to get trusted for that stuff. But later on, it's about how do you leverage? How do you leverage what you're doing and create flow?
Yeah.
So for the people who are great with ideas and great with people, they need somebody to help them make things into a reality.
Yeah.
So your strength is about certainty, it's about processes, it's about making, that data and systems and making things happen. So in terms of being shy about what you do, actually, I don't know whether you give more value to people who do the other stuff.
Yeah.
But they can't do it without you.
Yeah.
So maybe the starting place for what you're choosing to do is to give what you do more value.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a world without organisation? What that would look like?
Be my help.
Yeah. So does that make sense in terms of how you can start to view that?
Yeah, definitely.
If you think about what you said when you started, which is what kind of role do I want to go to, where, from having gone through that process, what stands out to you about the questions you posed, which was, what kind of role do I want, where do I want to go from here?
So what stands out about what we've discussed?
Yeah. Well, you started off with your goal was, where do I go from here? What role should I be going for? What kind of things should I be doing? So just interested in, from understanding the talent dynamics model, what stands out to you as like what you should be focusing on and where you should be planning and going?
So I think looking at all of my strengths, I think I'd definitely like to still be, or go back to logistics. I enjoy the putting it all together, seeing the process from beginning to end. The order comes in, you pick it, you pack it, you invoice it, you send it out. But then also within previous roles, I also liked picking up projects on the side. I would sort of say within our eyewear sector, there were things that weren't flowing, they weren't working, and I put procedures in place to make it work. Because my manager she wasn't an organiser at all, and she loved me taking. I'd be like, that's just not working, and I'd make it work, and she'd be like, cool, thanks, you've made it work. And I loved that. I'd be like, no, it's my project.
Give it to me.
So I love logistics, but I do love the projects on the side as well. So I'd hate to be, I think, in a warehouse just being picking and packing. I like where you can kind of make it your own, I guess, or you're helping work on it. And
so the things that you're describing, in terms of like systems and data in the logistics is the Lord, but you're describing a lot that you like that accumulator role, because the accumulators make the best project managers.
Right.
So it sounds like what you're saying is, I really like all this data system stuff here, but please don't take that away.
Yeah.
So when you're looking for your roles in the future, it's going to be really important for you that you want to be in control, and which is very much a Lord thing, and they like certainty. That's what it's all about, creating that certainty. We know when things are going to happen, but it's going to be important for you to be in flow, that you have that ability to own things.
Yeah, I think because I find it difficult when you sort of get into a team and there's no procedures in place and you have no control. It's just not working.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm so out of my element. I'm like, no, we need procedures.
So as you progress as well, I think one of the things to remember about that is that you add your value by bringing order to chaos.
Yeah.
And the chaos bit isn't going to be the bit where you're in your flow, but the bit that you're going to add your value is to go, hang on, right, this is how it needs to work.
Sort of be allowed to do that within a role.
Yeah. And that, going into places where, if it's already structured and ordered for you, it sounds like for you that might be a bit too dull.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true.
So it's for you, it's something about, it feels like almost getting hold of something and be able to get it sorted and be able to own, look, this is what I've done.
Yeah, seeing like the end result.
Seeing the end result.
Like, yes, works now.
If you went into something and it was all set up and ordered before you got there, and it was just, you just need to maintain it, how would you feel then?
I think I'd be looking for faults to fix. Like, that doesn't quite work. That's true, I've never thought of that.
Yeah. So, it sounds like as well there is a tension though there around too much chaos might put you too much out of flow. Yeah. But too much order is going to leave you not enough challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it sounds to me like from right where you started was that there's something about fast pace, lots to do.
Yeah.
I'm really concentrating. I've got a lot to do and to think about and order. That's where you get into flow.
Yeah. Like I think, say here if I didn't pick up things like the mailing service, you get roles where you can do the minimum or you can make more for yourself. If I did the minimum, I think I'd be ripping my hair out. I like to have projects and stuff. I couldn't sit at, be a security sitting at a gate. I'd be bored out of my brain.
So there's there's quite a lot of proactivity in your character, as like wanting to be really involved. And so one of the questions I've got is, and I sort of understand a bit about your background and what you're doing and why you're here at the moment. So what is in the longer term, what's in the way of you going back into logistics? Is there anything in the way of you going back into that? Is there anything you need to do to be able to put yourself in that best position to get where you want to be?
I think right now it's just my visa, because I can't get it's hard to get a permanent role, because that's sort of, so it's, I guess for me it's, I want to get skills now that can benefit me to go back to wherever it is I'm going back to, to go into that, you know, to get more experience to add to.
Okay, so have you thought of a way, and it sounds like, you know, you were saying here that you're, you know, in the middle in flow, and have you thought of any ways of being able to do your role here but get those skills and go back to wherever you're going to go more ready and more qualified and more prepared to go into that logistics role that you want?
I guess sort of just keep doing things like, say, the mailing service. It still adds to my distribution, and sort of, you know, I'm still doing invoices and things like that here, but sort of I guess still trying to develop on skills that would benefit.
So, you know, there's also things about, you know, is there anything in terms of training and development you could do here while you're here that would actually take you home with a qualification?
Yeah.
So that you can use the time that you're here to go home and say, look, you know,
that's something to think about.
I mean, just you know, I'm just throwing that in because obviously, you know, my role in terms of working with people in development, there's lots of really good training that qualify you and will give you a qualification that says, look, you know, I'm certified to do this, and it might just put you in a position where it puts you more in flow here because you feel like you're still on that journey of contributing to the end goal. But you know, you're using your time effectively.
That's definitely, that's something I hadn't thought of. That's something to look into.
So you need you know, look for those opportunities that say designed specifically for a steel person, and you'll be really happy. Cool. So is there anything else that you want to ask a question about, or that feels important to you about what we've discussed?
Oh, I don't think so. Okay. I'm sure I'll think of something later.
I'm sure it's always the way it goes. So you know, obviously there's a lot of information there. You know, if you want to ask more questions, you know, you're more than welcome to do that. I mean, I said that right from the start, that, you know, if you want to, we can talk about it later. But just as a final thing, I think, you know, remember it's about being in flow, where you add your most value, what people trust you for most, and then creating that flow for yourself, and then offering, you know, to the other people that you work with, you know, your support so you can put them in flow. And
sounds good.
Great. Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.